Welcome to Forgotten Video Gore, the podcasket about obscure movies. I'm Gravid Murto. I'm your ghost. On this show, I talk about movies that aren't available on streaming. And I'm very excited that it's getting close to Halloween, one of the spookiest times of the year. Of the fear. My guest this time is Rentz Leinbach. Rentz, welcome.
Hey, hi David. How's it going?
It's going good. Rentz is my childhood friend. I remember when we were like teenagers, you would let me borrow your movies. I remember Reservoir Dogs, and when you're a teenage boy, like Reservoir Dogs is like the best thing in the world. So thanks.
I made every kid my age watch Reservoir Dogs. I had kids banned from my house because I made them watch Pulp Fiction and Reservoir Dogs at that age.
Not age appropriate. So, Rentz, what do you get up to these days?
Well, I'm a musician in Portland, Oregon. I went to film school in Seattle.
Oh, nice.
I went through the Seattle Film Institute. Pretty fun experience, and I'm a musician who loves film. I avidly check out Letterboxd on Instagram, and I love when musicians are featured on the Letterboxd because I feel like film and music kind of go hand in hand.
Yeah.
My interests in film are like my movie collection is like Criterion films and the worst B-horror trash from the 80s that you've ever seen in your life.
Nice.
There's no in between. Like those are like my two polar extremes of the things that I enjoy. So I was pretty stoked to get on and check out this creepy 80s body horror.
Yeah, the movie you picked out looked awesome. It's called You've Met Your Deductible. It's from 1984, directed by Stuart Gordon. This was his first movie, but he went on to direct Reanimator and a movie I really like called Dolls.
Love Dolls.
Yeah, really fun.
It's like it shouldn't even be as good as it is. It's just it's so silly.
It's such a kind of cliche setup, but it's done to perfection in my opinion.
And it's almost like a heartwarming horror movie in a way. There's murder, there's killing, but it's a feel good. One of my favorite Stuart Gordon's is like a early 90s, I think. It's called Castle Freak. Have you ever seen that?
I've never seen Castle Freak.
Castle Freak is like these people move into a house and there's like a Quasimodo locked up in the house.
Cool.
That they don't know about, and he's the castle freak. It's not, it's not very PC, I
right?
Suppose. It's just like one of the weirdest Stuart Gordon. It's like his People Under the Stairs. Like
funny in that way too.
It's funny, yeah. It's funny and weird, and it's just like they just put a little freak in there. I don't know. It's one of the most bizarre 90s horror movies.
I like castles. I like freaks, so I'll probably be all in. You've Met Your Deductible. Yeah, so it's like a real low budget body horror from early in Stuart Gordon's career. Stars Steve Guttenberg. So this would have been after Diner, but before he hit it big with the Police Academy movies.
Yeah.
So why'd you pick out You've Met Your Deductible?
I've heard a lot about this movie over the years. I've never seen it. It's pretty hard to get your hands on. I'm pretty sure Gordon tried to bury the film at one point.
Okay.
But of course, Forgotten Video Store had a very hush-hush bootleg DVD copy. It was a chance of a lifetime for me to see some early Stuart Gordon as a huge fan, and it was interesting.
Yeah. So let's get into the movie. So we meet Steve Guttenberg's character, and he's kind of a loser. He's in his 20s, doesn't have a job, doesn't have much going for him. But he does have a much more successful wife. So she's played by Phoebe Cates. And this would have been right after Fast Times at Ridgemont High, but before Gremlins. So she's maybe a more recognizable face in this movie. But so she's a lot more successful, and they're newlyweds. And that's important because he's on her insurance plan. He's kind of a layabout. He's yeah, I've been applying for stuff. I try to apply for whatever, but when she's out of the house, we see him mostly just laying around and stuff and itching at his arm.
So the arm itching, I think he went out to apply for a job as a door-to-door vacuum salesman. He was doing a demonstration, I think, and the vacuum just exploded everywhere, unleashed some sort of toxic dust.
It was a hands-on audition process for the vacuum salesman gig, right?
Right, yeah. He did, actually, it was just he was demoing for the company, and they were just you're fired.
And he failed spectacularly. It's you're breaking our product. We can't let you work here.
Yeah, and actually you owe us $250. Yeah.
So not only is he unemployed and owes this vacuum company money, but he has a weird like rash on his arm that's really bothering him. And one day Phoebe Cates is just like, you have to get this arm checked out. And he's like, yeah, but what's that going to cost? And she's like, well, you're on my insurance plan now. And, I've already met my deductible for the year, so it'll probably be covered. Just go to urgent care. Solid advice. He goes to urgent care, checks in. So they run his insurance and it's like, oh, what insurance do you have? And it's like, oh, it's WG. It's under my wife's name. And when he like hands over the card, it's like WG we find stands for Wellness Guaranteed. Oh, that bodes well for him. It actually like once the intake nurse like runs his stuff and there's kind of a commotion behind the desk and she starts calling over other intake nurses and then they call over like one of the doctors and everyone's like real kind of excited. There's growing excitement and you're not sure what this is about. And then they call over this one doctor and he's played by Lance Henriksen, remember from Aliens? He plays
one of my favorites.
Yeah. He's really good. And he has like a creepy face, right? Which I think they used to good effect in Aliens because you don't know if you should trust him or not during that movie because
right.
It's like the robot. But in this, like he's like one of the head doctors. And he's
right, because he got his start with like Dog Day Afternoon, I think. Like he'd been around a little bit, so moving up in the world.
Yeah, doing a big role in a little movie. Yeah, he's like the doctor, and he's like, WG, tell him to come on back.
Yeah, and something's up. There's something really creepy about this doctor. But yeah, at this point, you're just really rooting that Gutenberg's going to get rid of that rash. So
the nurse like weighs him, does his height, everything, gets him back into the room. And normally you have to wait a long time. At least my experience is you have to wait a long time for the doctor to come up. But he doesn't wait a second for Lance Henriksen to come in. And he's like, what's been bothering you? And he's like, oh, I just got this weird rash. It's from this vacuum cleaner exploded, whatever. And Henriksen is like, we'll need to do some blood tests. And we'll need to do an arterial blood gas. And you're like, what is that? And it's like, this is how we're getting the blood. And it's like, it's a blood draw. And it's like, it seems like a blood draw, maybe slightly more complicated and more painful than a blood draw. And I'm not sure what the distinction is really. And the Goot is like, what's this going to cost? Like, and Henriksen says, it's all covered. You've met your deductible. You've got the best insurance plan I've seen. You're not going to pay a cent for this whole visit. And Goot is through the moon because he's, he owes money all over town. He's the layabout. He needs a deal.
He has a gambling addiction as well, which doesn't help matters. Dice in the alley, that kind of thing.
Henriksen takes the blood. It hurts a lot, but Goot is like, he's still flying high knowing he's not going to have to pay for this. But Henriksen before long comes back in and is like, this is going to be inconclusive unless we also get a urine sample. Urine sample, I guess. And so Goot is like, all right, let me pee in the cup or whatever. And Henrik says, no, we're going to do a catheter. And Goot is kind of like, well, a catheter, why do we need to do that? Is it more accurate? And Henriksen says, no, but it's more expensive. And that means it's better. Okay, so this doctor just has a bunch of stuff he likes to do that he never gets to do because insurance doesn't cover it.
Yeah, I mean, he's never had much of an opportunity to bust out a catheter in his career, so he's thinking gold mine. Let's check this bad boy out. Let's give this baby a test drive.
Stuart Gordon, known for his practical effects, intricate prosthetics, so you get to see some wonderfully realistic images of the catheter being inserted. That's what you want to see from an 80s horror movie. Right.
Very stretchy. There's a lot of, like, the sound design, I feel like, in that scene is really spot on.
So they get this urine sample, and Henrik says, Goot, you're a new patient here. How old are you? Gutenberg says, I'm 26. Dr. Hendrickson is like, 26? Sounds like it's about time for your first colonoscopy. Which I'm 37. I've never had a colonoscopy.
No, same. I'm in the same boat. I should probably schedule one.
Was it different in the 80s? Did you have to have it younger because like life expectancy was different, or is
the life expectancy was worse? Maybe the smoking. I don't know.
Good point. But they get the camera in there. They go in dry, which I didn't like.
Yeah, with the rectal cam, they actually use like a body cam, which is state of the art for its time, and to this day, I don't think I've seen another film use a medical body cam.
You know, Nolan likes to use the IMAX cameras. Stuart Gordon likes to use the rectal body cam. So they get up there and they're looking around, and Henriksen is like, "Ooh, there's some nasty stuff in there. We gotta get this out. Your tummy." So he orders a stomach pump. And the Goot is like, "This is going to help with my rash, right? Like, this is what's gone." And Henrik's like, "We're way past the rash."
Right. And there's a lot of shots of like clocks kind of like going through a lot of time is passing.
Right. It's been maybe a couple full days by this point that he's been in this operating room.
He's like, "I really have to get home and check my answering machine. I'm sure my wife is really worried."
But Henriksen tells him, like, health is the most important. We're nothing without our health. He's a doctor. He went to medical school. You got to trust this guy.
It's true.
But anyway, so they do the stomach pump, and it's like, that's real gruesome. And I don't know how they shot that for the movie, because it looks like they're really shoving that stuff in Gutenberg's throat. And afterwards, he describes it as being orally violated by tentacles, which was a disturbing choice of words, in my opinion.
I think he said it's one of the most difficult scenes he's ever shot in his career.
No, it's yucky stuff. But I guess when you've only been in a couple of movies, like, they can pull that stuff with you. Plus, it was the 80s. It was a different time.
I don't know if he was he SAG-AFTRA or I don't know.
This strikes me as a non-union movie. As they're pulling the tubes out of his throat, like, Henriksen, like, takes a look at his teeth and is like, we might as well do a root canal while we're in there.
Which is wild, because doctors do not perform dentistry. No. So at this point, he's going full board.
In fact, Gutenberg says, are you a dentist? Henriksen is like, I can do the whole body, basically.
But he's like, does the insurance cover dental work? And he's like, oh, yeah.
This insurance covers optometry, podiatry, pediatrics, obstetrics. It covers haircuts. They fix this. They do this root canal. You ever had a root canal?
Hell no.
Yeah, I had one. It sucked. And they were in there, and then like, oh, this root goes in like two different directions, and so they had to like keep going and like more digging around in there. It was awful.
I did have a tooth pulled once, and it was really funny. It was a super unprofessional job, and apparently I have really deep roots. I was under anesthetic, but the dentist was like, "Are you squeamish at all?" And I'm like, "No, I watch Stuart Gordon movies." He's like, "This is the longest root I've ever seen." And he held my like bloody tooth in front of me, like, woo. He was just like, yeah. Oh, he was into it, and I was like, cool. And I don't recommend it either, but I've heard root canal is even worse. So
they get this root canal sorted, and he's like, "Doc," he's been here for days. "Doc, what are we gonna do about this rash?"
Yeah, they've yet to really
address
the rash.
And Henriksen says, "Well, we need a bone marrow sample." And this is freaky because they like have this huge, and this needle looks like a knitting needle or something. They drive it into his hip bone. It sounds like when you're like hammering a nail through metal or something.
Yeah, once again, the sound design really, really clutch in this scene. And, Gordon's the master of just really like drawing out, making the most of a moment that's going to make the audience squirm in their seats. And this was a very disgusting scene in this movie, which I loved. So the needle actually breaks off, and they have to go get a second needle. They do the whole thing over again.
They bring out a big magnet, which I thought was cool, and they just like put it next to him and like, and it like pulls out the needle that was stuck in him, and that was cool.
Right. Unfortunately, he never had any other surgeries. He's only 26, so it just was the needles, and there were no like plates or.
Did you see Final Destination Bloodlines?
I have not seen that yet.
Okay, there's a really good magnet scene in that movie.
Oh god, those movies actually really, like, I love horror, but when people ask me what I think the scariest movie is, I usually say Final Destination.
Really?
Yeah, I do. There's something about it that's so, like, just dark and, like, ominous and definite. It's like you're definitely gonna die.
And it does train your brain to constantly be seeing how normal everyday items could kill you.
Right, yeah. I always remember, like, a scene in the first one where a teacher, like, pulls a napkin off of
a towel off of the knife block.
Knife block, and the knife hits her right in the chest, and then a chair just kind of hits the knife.
Yeah.
That's insane. And it was so, like, I think I was like 10 when that movie came out. I was just like, Jesus.
Yeah, I love those movies.
They're good. I've actually only ever seen the first two, and I do want to see the new one. I heard it's really good.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. Anyhow, so they're trying to figure out what are they going to do about this rash, and they took the bone marrow sample and everything, and it's like it's going to be a while before the results come back from that.
Well, actually, I think at that point they actually took a break and they went to Denny's.
Oh, yeah.
They left him there on the operating table.
And this was the most disgusting part of the movie, was seeing some of the shit they come up with at Denny's.
Yeah.
They had a sandwich that was like a grilled cheese sandwich, but with like mozzarella sticks instead of cheese. So it's like mozzarella sticks, grilled bread, and cheese. And, like, that's a sandwich?
And also, like, what is the point of this scene? Like, I really felt like they were getting really weird with, like, the menu items at the Denny's. To be honest, I felt like this movie had almost like a corporate product placement to it.
But why would they make the Denny's so freakish and unappetizing? It's like, why would Denny's ever approve that?
They went to the Denny's, and they were discussing, like, some other element of this procedures that they were working, like, 3 doctors. So there are 3 doctors, but there's 2, like, behind the curtain, I guess. Mm-hmm. You know, they're at a diner, but he says, the main doctor says...
Not the diner from Steve Guttenberg's movie Diner.
Not that diner.
They're at a Denny's.
Yeah, Henriksen's like, 3 Grand Slams, please. And so you're like, oh, they're at Denny's again. Mm-hmm. But when they bring the Grand Slams out, you know, he, like, cuts into the egg yolk, and it has, like, a really mushy, kind of disgusting bite of the egg, and he actually breaks the 4th wall and says something really cheesy along the lines of, like, this is such a nutritious breakfast, and I should know because I'm a doctor. I feel like Denny's was probably involved in some way in, like, making this movie come to fruition for Stuart Gordon, for young Stuart.
Yeah, at that point in his career, you got to do what you have to do to fund these movies. And of course, they had the tie-in menu when the movie came out. The You've Met Your Deductible tie-in menu at Denny's, and it's all like different body parts, like the rack of ribs, like the catheter, where it's like sausage link with the thing sticking out and like syrup dripping out of it. Really gross.
It's almost like a creme brulee like style sausage catheter thing. Really innovative cuisine for the time, you know.
Yeah, this was one of the first tie-in menus.
Yeah, it was. And you know, like, I wouldn't be surprised if, like, McDonald's got some inspiration, you know, when they, like, paid to have Mac and Me made. You ever see Mac and Me?
Yeah, of course.
They're like a 2-hour-long McDonald's commercial.
Wonderful dance scene in the McDonald's with Ronald McDonald himself.
Across the counter. That movie is like if Ronald McDonald made E.T.
Well, E.T. had that wonderful Reese's Pieces product placement. And then Mac and Me is like, well, if a prestige movie like E.T. can do it, why not us? And then they just took it to the next level. But anyway, so at the Denny's scene when Henriksen is like telling the surgeon, it's like, oh, you gotta get in on this. This guy's insurance, it's gonna cover it's like, if there's anything you've ever wanted to do, like, now's the time. And it's like, you know, all my friends have taken people's spleens out. I've never taken out a spleen. Like, I'll take out this guy's spleen. And so then there's a scene where they're explaining to the Goot that they could do anesthesia, but what they really want to do is like this experimental like hypnotism thing that's like supposed to be even better. So they like have the hypnotist come through and like knock him out. And then you have this scene where it's like, I don't know how else they would have done this, but they just have Gutenberg do voiceover. He's like, oh no, I'm like, I can't move and I can't say anything, but I can still feel everything. And they basically just tell you that so you know what's going on in the scene. And so they open him up and take out the spleen and everything. And he's like, his voiceover is screaming, but his face is like pretty much asleep. He wakes up a couple hours later and is like, And they're like, well, sir, the surgery, we were able to take out your spleen. And he's like, is that going to make the rash go away? And they're like, well, hopefully. Have you ever heard of retained surgical items? And he's like, what does that mean? And they're like, well, it's basically what it sounds like. It's, a retained surgical item would be like something from the process, like a sponge, a scalpel, scissors, gloves, anything that gets left behind inside the body cavity after we sew you up. And he's like, oh, did it happen to me? What did you leave in me? And they're like, oh, we just told you. Sponges, scalpels, scissors, gloves. It's all in there. And he's like, well, what? He's like, well, you could do another surgery to get them out, but we'd like to see what'll happen if they just stay in there.
At this point, I would be trying to get a hold of a lawyer, but he's very incapacitated. His girlfriend, also his girlfriend,
Phoebe Cates,
is desperately searching the city for him. She's already been to the urgent care, which I think that was probably her first stop, and they. Everyone's kind of in these weird cahoots at the urgent care, and they basically lie to her. So then she's headed to the police station to file a missing persons report. They happen to ask her at the police station what insurance she has, and she says wellness guaranteed. And the detective is kind of like, huh? And we come to find out later they have a slew of incidents all seemingly circling around this insurance company.
Yeah, like missing persons cases.
Missing persons, and they've been suspecting there's like a ring of greedy doctors taking advantage of these untappable insurance policies that this company is providing. And also, how is this company making any money? But that's beside the point.
So we check in with Steve Guttenberg. He's like, I just want this rash to go away.
And it's getting bigger. It's growing. Right. It's also like part of the body horror.
So Henriksen is like, I know one way we can get rid of it. Guttenberg's like, are you sure? And he's like, yes, I'm 100% sure it'll make the rash go away. And Guttenberg's like, whatever it is, just do it, and so I can go home and everything. And he's like, okay, lay down. Starts up the bone saw. Oh, he's talking about amputation.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he's got the drill. Yeah, the drill sounds never good. So, yeah, I think there's a cutaway there. Suddenly we find ourselves back at the Denny's, and they're discussing the problems with the amputation.
Right.
And you're wondering, like, is Gutenberg still alive?
It leaves us in suspense for a minute because we cut back to Phoebe Cates. She, after hearing all this stuff about WG, Wellness Guaranteed, she's like, oh, so he probably is still at the urgent care. So she goes back and, she starts causing a scene like, I know he's back there. I know he's back there.
And like, she almost makes it back. She almost makes it back to him.
Yeah, it's like if she had gotten past that one swinging door, like she would have seen him back there.
This is a strange turning point in the movie. They leave him there on the table, turn the light out. Henriksen goes home. Mm-hmm. And we see Henriksen's house for the first time. And it's a pretty normal house. He's got a cat and whatever, but what's interesting about this scene, and I think it's pretty early in this genre to feature a scene like this, but they kind of try to do like the creepy guy 80s horror dance scene, which I think kind of peaked with like Silence of the Lambs.
Yes, definitely Goodbye Horse.
With the Buffalo Bill.
Right. What was the song in this sequence?
That's the thing. The scene could have been exceptionally creepy because they reveal that the doctor does insane surgeries on himself because he is also a member of Wellness Guaranteed, and he's got all kinds of appendages, and he's shirtless and his torso's covered in like baby arms and stuff.
Yeah, this
could have been exceptionally terrifying scene, except the song choice, they went with like Culture Club and they used Karma Chameleon, which the song's just really not very scary song, and like then the harmonica comes in and it's just kind of like I don't even.
I was kind of jamming to it, so it worked for me.
I like the song. Maybe they were going for that kind of Tarantino, like that juxtaposition of violence.
Oh, yeah, like Stuck in the Middle with You.
Yeah.
The aforementioned.
It just didn't quite work for me. And then he said some creepy thing, like he had a Buffalo Bill line, and it was something like, you're the best patient I've ever had. And
ooh, yeah.
The potential. So, yeah, I didn't see that coming, but now we kind of know why just how twisted this guy is, and maybe why he's so like invested in doing this to other people. And I was kind of wondering, like, did someone do this to him? Is this just like a hobby?
So Henriksen the next morning has breakfast at Denny's again. I don't know if they do like a loyalty program or something, but this guy would be racking up the points. But he gets into the hospital, checks in with Gutenberg, who has been bleeding out and is close to passing on, unfortunately. And so Henriksen talks with him and is like, oh, it takes a big man to own up to your mistakes. And I made a mistake this time. I forgot to sew up your arm and bandage it. So you've just been bleeding out all night. So you're probably going to die. But there's this experimental thing that I really want to try. And it could maybe save your life. And you could possibly live forever. And Gutenberg is in no position to fight back about it. He holds up Gutenberg's arm, shoves the pen in there, and holds up the form, and it kind of makes him sign it.
Oh, and there's that really funny moment of dialogue where he's like, "I'm left-handed," as they cut off his left arm.
Yeah.
Very very comatosely. He's like, "I'm left-handed."
Gutenberg, great in this movie, so likable. So basically this procedure they pop the top of his skull right off. Reminded me of the end of Hannibal. Remember that?
Oh yeah, Ray Liotta and the pigs and all that. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Pigs is a different part of that movie sucked, but
yeah, it wasn't that good. But that part was cool.
You got some pigs, you got some Ray Liotta's brains. Yeah.
So what they do is he drills through his skull, takes it off like it's a ball cap, pulls it right off his head. He real carefully grabs onto his brain and pulls. And the interesting thing is it's not just his brain that comes out. His eyes are attached via the optic nerve or whatever. So his eyes are dangling from the brain, and ear, the auditory nerves are still there. And some of the goopy veins and arteries and stuff that hanging down from the brain. So they take this all out and they put it in a special vat. It's gonna circulate blood constantly, so the brain always has access to oxygenated blood, and this is gonna keep him alive. And so he has the eyes and the auditory nerves, so he can still see and hear just fine. But he's basically like a brain in a vat of blood. Then we cut back to Phoebe Cates at the desk, and the nurse is like, oh, Steve Gutenberg, or whatever his name in the movie is. Oh, yeah, he's here, and he's in room 206, right back this way. And so they show her back to the room, and she comes eye to eye with this version of Steve Gutenberg, who's just a brain and various other goopy things hanging off him.
At first, she's really heartbroken, but then she starts to remember how much she just didn't really dig Steve in the first place.
Right, he was kind of useless.
And the brain is sort of kind of has this little Stuart Gordon glow to it, there's the purple light kind of coming out of this case, and you can see the kind of a spark in her eye, she's I see some potential, then they cut to kind of a 5 years later or whatever, and the brain has become a U.S. senator for whatever this state, Georgia, that they were.
Yeah, and he communicates, basically, he can move some of the arteries that are hanging down from his brain, and he can write on the tank that he lives in. And so that's how he communicates. And he's actually now that he's basically just a brain, he's focusing all of his energy on thinking, and he becomes one of the generation's great thinkers.
It's not really explained, but I like that theory.
He's not expending energy doing anything except thinking, basically. I think if any of us could get there, we'd be geniuses too.
And they say you only use 10% of your brain.
Yep. And that is true.
Phoebe Cates is totally in love.
She actually loves him more now.
Yeah, they are doing great. Their relationship is flourishing, and so it kind of ends on a weird, twisted sort of up note,
Yeah, very hopeful. Henriksen did this guy a favor.
In a way, yeah. But they do eventually. They cut back to Henriksen just to give you a little dour cliffhanger ending, and he's got Gutenberg's body stuffed in his house with the head, with the top of the head missing and the arm missing, of course. And then it pans out, and he's got so many more, dozens of specimens. And then the phone rings. He picks up the phone. He says hello, and they say, hi, this is Wellness Guaranteed. And then it cuts to black.
Credits.
What are they? What are they doing?
Are they behind it? Or are they just a really great insurance company? This is like also the interesting thing about this to me was like most insurance company nightmares you hear about are they don't cover necessary things. The angle was a little different. The insurance company nightmare in this movie was they covered too much.
The 80s were an interesting time for like consumer culture.
Greed is good.
Yeah, a lot of optimism, hopefulness. Like they wanted you to believe in the system. And some horror directors kind of played with that, and others kind of leaned into it. I think Gordon was kind of leaning into this, like, here's what optimism can get you. Yeah, I don't think it's a movie that would make a whole lot of sense now.
No, perhaps not. You've Met Your Deductible. I thought it was a real fascinating watch. Thanks for picking this out. I thought it was really good.
Yeah, I really liked it. I really liked that Denny's could help launch Stuart Gordon's career, and I never really knew that. And it actually made me kind of want to go get a Grand Slam. Might just do that after this podcast. Actually, I'm feeling very hungry.
Okay, to end things out, I like to do a little something. It's called plugs and rants. So, like, if you want to promote anything, I'll give you the opportunity to do that. Or if you want to rant about anything, get off your chest. I usually do a rant, but this time I just I want to try something a little different and just read you something that was in my notes app that I thought was appropriate seasonally. So this is from September 18th, 2019, and I can't remember specifically why I wrote this, but it's like a bullet list under the heading The Crypt Keeper. Not traditionally handsome, but confident in his appearance. Funny. Helps us confront our fears, welcoming to everyone, bisexual, in parentheticals, likes boils and ghouls, and good storyteller.
I love the Crypt Keeper. And he's a pun master too.
That's true.
I mean, the classic Crypt Keeper, it would be like someone gets their head lobbed off, and then he'd be like, "I guess he really got ahead in business."
Well, he's a great man.
He's a good boy.
Do you have any plugs and or rants?
Yes, I have some plugs. So my wife is starting a business. It is a spa / gift shop. And right now she's doing pop-ups around Portland. But she has a website. The website's called cloudhousepdx.com. And she has an Instagram, which is cloudhouseportland. Not cloudhousepdx, because that was taken. But she sells all sorts of stuff. She sells ice rollers, bath salts, lotions, creams, stickers, merchandise. So that's been something that we've been working on really hard around our place, and I'm really proud of her.
That's awesome. Congratulations.
She's an esthetician, and she's been a lead esthetician for almost 2 decades, and she just won. Well, she came in second place for best esthetician in Portland this year.
Wow!
In the
Congratulations.
Willamette Week poll. Yeah, so she's very talented, and you should definitely check out her website. And then I would like to plug my own music. My music's Rentz Leinbach. I'm on everything. I'm on iTunes. I'm on Spotify. There's some YouTube videos.
Awesome.
So check that out if you like some garage indie rock stuff, and if you thought this was fun and you'd like to hear what I sound like when I'm singing.
Yeah, I encourage people to do that. Do you have any rants for me today?
My rant would be like we really all need to make sure that we're taking care of each other, because the titans in the world right now are not trying to take care of anyone. If you spend $500 on a non-essential item on a regular basis, go donate to a charity. At least, just do things to spread the wealth. And also, minimum wage really needs to be about $66 an hour.
I'm with you.
So I'll keep it light. That's about as light as I'll get.
Thank you so much, Rentz. Thanks for going all the way from Portland to North Hollywood to the Forgotten Video Store with me.
My feet
hurt. A lot
hurt.
of fun.
Yeah, it was fun.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Forgotten Video Store. I hate to do this to you, but I did contact 3 weird sisters and arrange to put a curse on you. You're going to be in a whole mess of toil and trouble. But all you have to do to lift the curse is subscribe to this podcast. That should take, like a second? Thanks. My 4 weeks of spooks continues next week when I'll have a biomedical scientist on the show to examine the 13th installment in a long-running slasher franchise. The The music in this episode was Day of Chaos and Evening of Chaos by Kevin MacLeod. Incompetech.com, licensed under Creative Commons by Attribution 4.0 license. Okay, bye.